Right.
So whenever y'all ready to start.
Yeah. Are we recording? We are recording. Well, let's call the meeting to order here. This meeting of the Finance and Development Committee of the Housing Authority of the County of Monterey at 5:04 p.m. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we can all do it together.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kevin Healy.
Present.
Okay. Commissioner Hans Booter.
Present.
Okay, and that concludes the roll call.
Okay, item number 3. Are there any comments from the public? Okay. We're going to move on to item number 4, which is the minutes. Approval of the minutes from the Finance and Development Committee meeting held on February 21st. I move approval.
I would move approval. Oh, second.
No worries. Great. And I guess we'll do a quick roll call. Ms. Boykin.
All right. Commissioner Kevin Healy.
Yes.
Commissioner Hans Booter.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes the roll call vote.
Okay, and we're moving on to item 5, which is old business. Item 5A is resolution 3091, a resolution approving the operating budget for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024.
Okay, Hans, Mike will be presenting the budget. So he'll be coming down here taking places with me. Do you have, you and Kevin, do you have your copies, or do we need to put it up on the screen?
I've got a copy.
I received the copies that were sent this afternoon.
Okay. Mike.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, so what you should have received as a cover sheet at the beginning called Summary of Key Concerns Regarding 24 Budget. Do you guys have that?
Yes.
Okay. And so as a recap for FY23, where HACM is going to, right now, as things stand, have a loss of 1.3 million net income. HDC would lose 2.8 million for a total of 4.1. Just to refresh your memory, we had a settlement of 2.1 million. So our effective net loss without any one-time impacts would be around 2 million. So for the FY24, you're going to see a significant improvement turnaround from that year. The HACM starts with a $1.4 million positive net income, but I'm showing here as adjustments to be discussed, where if we were to include these items, then we would reduce the number by 600,000 so that our net HACM income would be 0.8. HDC would start with 2.6 million, and we would make adjustments for projected development in Greenfield, which would be $500,000. So their net number would be 2.1, and the total for the entity would be 2.9 million. I listed a series of comments, basically wanting you to understand that we have included a 5% increase for all salaries, for all employees, realizing that this is a placeholder. We are engaged with the union right now with negotiations, and it sounds like those are going to be fairly protracted. So again, as I say, this is a placeholder. For items that are in the budget that are significant changes from prior year, if you can believe it, our groundskeeping service here at the property literally doubled. We've had a number of about 150,000 for quite a long time, and they said that their bid would be 150,000 higher. So we're doing an RFP that'll go out, should be out already into the public domain, where we're going to be getting competitive bids. Don't know if we'll do any better than theirs, but we should try. That's what we're hoping for. Again, in our expenses for the year for 24, we're getting hit with some very significant insurance increases, and those are reflected. You would also notice that our maintenance has gone up significantly. We are currently including $1 million for siding at Tesoros del Campo. This is, again, a bit of a placeholder, because depending on the scope of the rehabilitation that the company decides to do, the agency, it could be much more than $1 million. The good news is that you can see on the third page, I think I included a listing that shows basically each of the properties, the departments that make up this budget, and you can see the same numbers for HTC and for Hackham that appear in my notes here. But I included the LLPs, and I was gratified to see that the total of their bottom lines was $7 million positive, which gives us hopefully a good feeling, because we require and count on being paid by those entities for our management fees. So that helps to know that they're positive. Zuleika continues a very strong effort to try to increase the productivity of the staff here by, for instance, using Yardi more fully. And through this process, we hope to continue to hold our headcount steady or reduce it. We have a number of temps that we're phasing out, and we're also going to be planning on using Rent Cafe and PayScan, which are two modules that are in Yardi that allow us to do functions in an automated manner, interacting with our tenants through a portal, as well as PayScan is really automation of AP. So that's very helpful. So both of those hopefully will help keep our headcount level. The last stop point there is a concern relative to just, there's always a cloud overhanging the agency, from the point of view that HUD can always come back and look at our voucher utilization, and if they so choose, they could ask us to, they would have the right to recapture money that they have already paid us. That's why we're working diligently to make sure that we have higher utilization than may have been historically true. With that, I feel like the budget for next year is, every line can be wrong, but in general, in total, I think in the law of large numbers, I think it's kind of, I think it's pretty accurate. The last budget we did for a prior year, I think it ended up being off. Oh gosh, it was way off. So this is much more indicative of our recent history. And though it's improved over last year, it obviously doesn't include that $2 million one-time settlement. And so it's easier for us to be able to show a positive bottom line. So we're in a position where we hope that you'll approve this, and we would make these adjustments. I'm assuming we would roll through the adjustments that I've suggested, so that the number that would be seen by, that would become the official number would be the 2.9 million, with the Hackham portion being looking for the number right now, 0.8 million. Any comments that you'd like to ask?
I had a quick question. It looked like and I know that this predates, I think both of you, but the 2023 budget, the Section 8 HAP line item was like 65 million. And it looks like we actually received 48 million, which is like a pretty big delta. Any color on what was going on with that?
Hey, Hans.
Hey.
The reason why you see a little difference, because the Section 8 program go off the calendar year. So when we do ours, we're using our fiscal year, which go from July to June of the next year. So when they implemented that, it was just this year's December, I think, that they said they was going to give the agency that much money. So really what they did was counted the actual HAP that we had got so far and kind of did an estimate off of that, because we still underutilized. But that item should change if the utilization increases, and then we'll have to amend the budget. But right now, we're not sure if we're gonna, we should get 65,000 in all. 65 million in all, but I think we've gotten 48 million so far. And so they use the actual instead of the projection because of the utilization.
Yeah, we really used the last 2 months of actual payments and annualized it. So we're being very conservative.
Yeah, so once the utilization increases, we, hopefully that's what happens, then we'll put in an amendment for that. That way it's not overstated and could potentially cause, problems in other areas.
But it doesn't really matter, right? Because it's like money in and money out.
Right.
Well, it kind of go with the admin fee too. So the admin fee gonna go up if we get some more HAP money. And so it should increase.
Yeah, I feel like our expenses compared to our admin fees, we're taking a conservative position. We're not inflating the admin fees and making it look better than it really is. The higher your guesstimate for your HAP, the higher your guesstimate for your fees would be your admin fees. And you could load up the budget and say, well, gosh, if these things come true, but that's not the case. We're really kind of doing a conservative view of it.
Just until we stabilize a little bit.
Get a better sense.
And this is obviously like not really this meeting, with this being the finance and development meeting, but it's like connected, as you just mentioned, to the actual operations in a way.
Mm-hmm.
How are we doing in terms of like lease up on the Section 8 front? I know there was a couple months there when obviously we took some action personnel wise when it was pretty thin, but are we nosing the plane into the air a little bit, or how do those numbers look?
Lease up is actually improved. I think we did 3,356 vouchers in the month of July. So lease up has increased, but primarily now we're working with the eligibility team to try to get more vouchers briefed and out on the street, because we have 4 of them, and so far, unfortunately, they have not been able to produce at least 400 vouchers a month. So we did training with Yarda to streamline the best practices, and now we're working with them one-on-one to see what their processes are so that we can make the necessary changes. But if everything goes according to plan, we hope to have at least 1,000 vouchers on the street before the end of the year, and then that'll let us meet utilization. And we're gonna get to that by increasing the briefings, using some of the PBVs, and kind of getting a better hold on in between moves. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to do that with the goals that we have set. And I did create that leasing plan for you, and it's attached to the Section 8 report. So you will see it before the board meeting, well, you and the rest of the board.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we got a plan. We hope it works, Hans.
Is the time, is it the calendar year? Is that when we need to have the
We need
number?
to have, yeah, we need to have them out by November 30th, because according to our yardage system, most of our vouchers lease up in the first 90 days. And so if we push on it now and we have all these out by November, then in the month of December, we should be able to meet the goal that we set with the 900, because they would have had ample time to go out and find housing. So with the landlord symposium and the other things that we're doing, I don't know if we're gonna meet the 1100, that's the goal, but even if we do 800, we still will be in a much better position. But we need to do it by November 30th.
Okay. Okay.
And a couple of other things too, real quick, while I'm standing here about the budget. You'll see some cuts because we anticipate making some changes to staffing and payroll because of the yardie implementations and some other things that we'll be doing. So that was one of the expenses that was decreasing a little bit as far as that. But software did go up. I forgot exactly the percentage, but we did increase on that, but it should kind of level itself out. And then we just finished the 21 audit. So once we finish the 22 and take care of some more transactions that have to be did, then that'll also help us if we have to make adjustments on the budget, since we're not really in sync with the audits right now. And back to you, Mike.
One of the things I just want to mention was, and maybe Jose, maybe you want to comment on it, but the rental adjustments that went through, or at least are being proposed, and they're built into this budget. So maybe you could comment.
Yeah, we had to submit.
Can you hear him?
We gonna get this big. We might need to get us a table.
Yes, we did submit rent increases for all of our Section 8 PVV units for all of our the units that we manage. So those were originally submitted with different amounts, but we were instructed to resubmit them with the new payment standards. So that is going to increase our revenue from those units, and as well as farm labor. Farm labor approved the increase, substantial increase in those properties, which is also going to help with bringing more money into the properties.
Yeah, so that's really helping us get to that 0.8 positive number for Hackham. Correct. Okay, any other questions? Would you like me to give a quick overview on the June?
Can I just ask one question? I'm looking at a spreadsheet here that has a Hackham budget of 2024. And the bottom line number is like 1.3. But then I'm looking at
You're looking at the one that says budget overview.
well, I'm trying to understand the difference, I guess. So, oh, that's for that. You're talking about the 0.8 is for like just the housing voucher program P&L.
Yeah. And that's after, you know, if you're looking at the same spreadsheet, I think it's page 2. I think it's page 2 or page 3. The kind of busy one that's a little bit on the hard side to read. You'll see at the bottom where it shows 2.9 in the little box at the bottom of the Hackham column. That's after we make these adjustments we mentioned. That's the tie-in number that we would present next week would be 2.9 million. That's what's in the resolution.
Got it. Yeah, that's net of the 1.1.
Yeah.
Okay. Kevin, anything?
I think ultimately just kind of receiving the information. I appreciate Mike's synopsis and the indication of the concerns and the summary, but I think there's a lot of digesting that needs to happen on my part. So we'll be looking forward, or I will be looking forward to next week's conversation after I've had a chance to thumb through it in some level of detail. And thank you, Zalika. And we'll jump in the hot tub next week once I've had a chance to digest it.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
I'm
so,
very
now that June is over, do you want me to spend a second on June? June, let's just say that we, by speaking, June was relatively unexciting, pretty flat activity from May. It was so we ended up, as I said before, with you, when you take out the one-time adjustment, we're at a 1.7 million loss for 2023. That year is dead and buried, and we're looking forward to 2024. So hopefully a much happier outcome. So I'm gonna sign off here if that's okay.
Mike, I just wanted to quickly get a sense of it's always a super complicated question, but just like our cash position, like if we had an immediate need to free up cash, if you gave me sort of an order of magnitude on what that looks like, separate from kind of working capital or things that were actually going to be stuff that's earmarked for something.
Yeah, we have waterfalls that are probably the largest source of potential cash, and as we knock off each of these audits, then we are able to submit our request for waterfalls. We have waterfalls built into this budget for 2024, right? So we've taken advantage of what we expect to be the payable waterfalls in 2024. So they're not outside of these numbers. If you had to make a guess, Kim, how much do you think those waterfalls were worth in all your calculations?
I think there was,
A couple of million?
yeah,
Yeah,
there
at
was,
least.
yeah. Because Tynan's pending at like 300,000 right now. So and there's a few other ones.
There's a handful, yeah, we should be good. There's a handful of them that are gonna be coming in. Sorry for my voice. You're not even gonna hear me. So I know like there's Tynan that's coming in for sure. We have about another probably 600,000 for Hacienda's developer fee that'll be coming in because we just cleared up that PG&E issue. And then we're gonna have Parkside that'll be coming in once we get through conversion. So I mean, easily a couple million if we needed cash like right now.
1 million, maybe 5.
Probably, yeah.
So look, I don't know if they heard that part, Carolyn.
Hans, can they
I
hear?
think,
Oh, okay, there's just a little delay. So probably closer to like 4 million. If we needed to free up cash for some reason.
okay, awesome.
We'll go the other way. We'll go that way for mine.
Okay, I think I'm done.
Yeah, thank you. So let's see, Carolyn. Okay, so go ahead, Hans.
Oh yeah, the only thing was, at least in the version I have, it looks like the numbers in the resolution maybe
Yeah, there too.
Print from what's in my spreadsheet here. So I'm happy to support the resolution, but maybe if we can just clarify what the numbers are for the record. In terms of the revenue and expense numbers, if somebody could read that in, that would be helpful.
Okay, resolution, oh, this it for HDC, or is it one for HECM too?
Yeah,
It's the same numbers on both.
yeah, it's the same numbers
Oh,
for
okay.
both resolutions, but
Okay, so the resolution has budgets of 74.2 million in revenues, budgets of 79.5 million in expenditures, consolidated HDC operating budget and HECM budget.
The part that I'm questioning, is that accurate? Because the spreadsheet I'm looking at says about 72 million of revenue and 6.
Oh, what am I saying?
So Zilly, we met before the meeting and I gave Gabby some numbers. I don't think she had a chance to.
I see the little pen on here now, so it says the budget of 71.9 million in revenues
Yeah.
for HECM and HDC.
Yeah.
And then budgets of 67.9 million in expenditures for HECM and HDC.
Right.
And then basically a projected net income of 3.9 million. And then subject to these notes at the bottom in the commentary about if you have a $1.1 million of increased expenses based on those comments, maybe down to 2.9 million of net income.
Yes.
So we use those numbers as the I guess for the resolution here. And then I would make a motion to approve resolution 3091, which is a resolution approving the operating budget for HACM for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024. And I guess whether this is parliamentarily accurate or not, I would make a corresponding motion to approve the HDC resolution 227, which is a resolution approving the operating budget for HDC for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024. Both of those items, 5A and 5B, those resolutions reflecting the updated numbers that we just talked about.
Just for clarification, Hans, we're recommending that both of these items be advanced to the full board, and so we're giving approval from the committee to recommend them to the full board meeting. Am I understanding it correctly?
That's right. That's a good clarification. Thank you.
Perfect. Then in that case, then I would second your motion.
All right, roll call, please.
Commissioner Kevin Healy,
Yes.
Commissioner Hans Buder,
Yes. Okay, it passes. We are going to move on to item 6, which is new business. Item 6A, resolution 229, authorization to award repairs contract on Tynan Village for construction defects claim.
yeah, and Carolina's gonna talk in a lot of detail about this, because this also goes back to the original bids that was on the property. So that way, if we have any clarifying questions, she should be able to answer them.
She should.
Well, she will.
And I'm missing a memo. There's a memo missing that we'll get for the board meeting. I didn't see it in here, but that's okay. So, hello, commissioners. So this is being brought up today because the original part of the packet includes the contract that we're requesting approval for from DKI. I also attached the original contract for the Tynan remediation. This is going back to the Tynan defect construction claim that we were awarded $9.5 million, and we entered into a contract. We awarded the contract to Access Construction, who did the work back. They started in March of 2021. They completed it in November of 2022. There was a section of Building C, the southeast section, that Access did not, it was outside of the contract for Access. And I don't have all of the history, but there wasn't water intrusion damage there. When we did the waterproofing consultant that we had, and another company that the name escapes me right now, they came and did a full report on all of the portions of the building that needed remediation that were later on part of Access's scope of work. This particular section, southeast section of Building C, didn't need any work. As time went on, and after Access was completed with the rest of the buildings, the rest of Building C and A and B, we started noticing water intrusion issues, and we had it, we did some initial testing. We were at different levels. Basically there's water intrusion throughout. There's 4 residential units that are on that same stack. The good thing is that none of this water intrusion has gone into the residence units. We did some initial testing to make sure, using this company, because this vendor was utilized during the initial job with Access. So they were working in conjunction with Access. Access was the main GC on the job, and then there was work that was outside of their contract that DKI would take care of. So they're very familiar with what was done. They were the ones that did any cleanup that needed to be done, any remediation. So that's the reason why for the work that needs to be done on Building C, they are the most, we didn't go out and get additional bids. We've been working with them throughout this whole entire process. So the work, I asked for a quote, the proposal came in, it was over $100,000. And so we're coming to the board for permission to execute this contract so that they can complete this work. We still have about $650,000 left of that settlement money. So the funds are not coming out of, the property or HDC or the housing authority. They are funds that were set aside specifically for the water intrusion issues. They're going to have to we're going to have a scaffold on that particular section. So it's going to look basically like it looked. I don't know if any of you drove by the building when we were doing the initial work, but it's going to look very similar to that. They're going to basically remove the entire exterior envelope. They're going to, down to insulation if there's any water damage. They've already done work in the interior stairwells. They're all, they're covered in plastic. Everything's been cleaned, and they're just waiting to do the exterior so that everything can be completed. But they estimate that this work is going to take no more than 2 months to complete. And the good thing is none of the residents are going to be affected. We're not going into any residential units. So that was a really good, we were very fortunate that nothing is wrong with the tenants' units. So this is all, common area stairwells, and there's 8 windows that will need to be replaced as well. But I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have regarding this.
But you didn't tell them the exact amount, you just said.
Oh, it's 131,228.11. Oh, and 2 more things to add. So because this has been, it has to do with water intrusion, we're planning on using the same waterproofing consultant that we used during the rest of the job that Access Construction did. And because I'm short-staffed with the construction manager now, our architect has agreed to come out once a week and, just assist my team in making sure that things are being done according to plans and specs. But again, DKI is very familiar with this work. They've been involved since day one, so I don't anticipate any issues.
Carolina, are we good as far as any requirements relative to soliciting bids on this particular work? I'm a little bit unclear as to whether it falls in or without the scope of the original work done. So I just want to make sure that we're covered as far as soliciting the proper number of bids for the work.
I would say yes. I mean, we're soliciting this. We asked for this quote under HDC's umbrella. And I mean, it really is, I mean, it's considered an urgent repair. It's not something that we should be waiting on. And because this contractor was involved during the entire process, then, I mean, we could have done it like a change order, I guess, but there wasn't they weren't the GC. And so that's why we weren't doing it that way. That the general contractor Axis is already done and over with the job. And we've completed everything that we needed to with that work. So this is going to be a separate contract with them.
Okay, well, just to add to that, the reason that I felt like we needed to bring it to the board, one, the amount of money that it is $131,000. And then two, I'm waiting for clarification from Novogradac to make sure that we are not violating any of the procurement rules that we have in place. Because we can't really piggyback off the original contract because it's been completed out. And so they should give me a response this week, but I was gonna ask you when you make your motion to make it contingent upon that response. Because if they say that we can do this because of the need and the urgency and maybe in some form use it as a professional service or something, or piggyback off the original work, then we can do that. But if not, we will have to put it out for bid to get the work done because of the amount.
Thank you both. Thank you, Carolina. Thank you, Zalika.
Okay, so if I was going to sort of parrot that back, that was going to be one of my questions. So basically, with Hackham being, and I'm forgetting all the terminology, but essentially an affiliated entity, the procurement rules flow through to HDC. So HDC has to follow those procurement rules. Is that fair? The same ones Hackham follows?
Well, they have their own procurement policy, but it's really like a mirror image of the Hackham policy. So they do have the same rules in place. It's only certain circumstances where you can circumvent those rules. And by this kind of being a part of the original problem with the original contract, we hoping that they'll let it go through. But if not, we will just have to bid it out.
And then I guess the last one is just like from a substantive standpoint, obviously they have been involved, right? So maybe it takes them less time to get up to speed. Do you feel pretty confident that like this bid would be, a competitive bid based on the scope of work?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And then the other question was the construction manager piece. Just fill me in on like, have we lost like our guy on that front, or where do things stand?
We have not had a construction manager for quite some time, but we haven't been doing active development yet. We haven't started any new projects. So we had a project manager. It was he was overseeing this work and any capital improvements that we had at the properties. He retired suddenly, and so now we have a bit of a void in that department. That's why I've reached out to the architect and ensured, with the waterproofing consultant, that the key issues of concern for this work are going to be addressed. So we have a professional waterproofing consultant, the same one that did the rest of the job, and then our architect who's very familiar with the property, with the specs and drawings and all that has been provided to DKI as well. So I just wanted to make sure that everything, like you said, that everything gets addressed and that is built back according to plans.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Just for my own, like, staying up to date on what's happening, at the agency. What was the name of the project manager who retired?
It was Fred.
Fred.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And that was just last month.
I think it's barely
end of July.
It's getting close to being a month. Yes, very recent.
Got it. Okay, there you go. Okay. Well, let's see. So I guess we need to amend verbally this, I guess my second question is, does this authorize, are we just sort of moving this forward to the full board for them to authorize, or can we authorize as a committee here?
I think you have to move it forward to the full board.
Well, I would make a motion to approve resolution 229 to move forward to the full board. Our recommendation to authorize these repairs, to award the contract to this group, I guess it's DKI, contingent on Zulika determining that we fall within the safe harbors of the procurement rules.
Well said. I will second that. Excellent motion.
Okay.
Thank
Roll.
you.
Commissioner Kevin Healy,
Yes.
Commissioner Hans Buder,
Yes. Okay, it passes. We're gonna move on to item 7, which is information items, and item 7A is the finance report.
for the June.
Hey, as far as June goes, the large event that we had recently and mentioned previously was the fact that we got the audit signed on June 22nd, 23 for 21 by Novogradac. Now, given that good news, we've moved on to the internal controls for 2022. Right now, we've reduced the number of individual audits down to, I think right now it's down to like 1 or 2. And when those are done, then that really kind of allows us to start the broader audit of 2022 for the entire agency. So we're getting close, and I've made a guess that maybe October we'll be done with that. That's just my guess. In August, we had a VMS audit from QAD, folks from HUD, and we'll be getting a letter back from them, and they'll be explaining where we had issues, and we'll be working to fix and address those issues. Zulik is all over it and providing guidance to all of our teams. One of the things that we've done, and we actually had the first one today, which is we're taking monthly financials and meeting with internal directors and stakeholders. We had a Teams meeting today with Carolina and with Jose, who are here in attendance, and went through the process that we would do every month of reviewing with them their financial statements, P&L balance sheet, and so forth, trial balances, to make them comfortable with the information and, as I said, make them the CEO of their properties. So I kind of like that. So I took the assignment from a joint meeting that we had with the directors. We met independently, and so I'm going to go back and take the 2 procurement policies, do a compare gap analysis, and find out if they are in fact mirror images of each other, because we really should, in my opinion, be using a single policy, or know exactly where the differences are, and revisit whether or not they are necessary and best practice. As far as the actual numbers for the month, we did tick up a little bit in revenue on the Hackham side, and our year-to-date bottom line was right about 1 million loss for HTC. We ended up at 2.8 million for the year, with 2.1 being a one-time charge. So when you look at the total agency, we were at 1.7 loss for the year, and we're looking to turn that around and next year be, as we said earlier, positive in both entities. So I'm excited about that, and I think it's very doable. That's all I have to say. Any questions?
I don't thank you for that helpful summary, Mike. Kevin, any questions?
No questions.
Okay, let's move on to the property management report. Item 7B.
All right. Good afternoon, commissioners. Just want to report, we had a couple of inspections at some of the properties. We had a visit from Wells Fargo, Hacienda Senior, that we completed. Everything was on point with what they were looking for. We haven't had a response from them, but everything was okay. We also completed the work order reconciliation project in conjunction with MIDA to try to close any open work orders and make sure that we're staying on top of the work orders. We completed the SRIs and FOC, for the FOC sites, which, as I mentioned earlier, were approved. And that's going to bring a substantial rent increase for those properties, which is much needed. We worked with Mike's team, completed the information for the FOC sites to help them to get those budgets completed. And the rest of the properties as well. This month, in the month of August, we had a visit from tax credit for East Salinas Family Rat. They were here for 2 days. They actually visited 53 units and they looked at 47 files. The overall feedback from the auditor was that the audit went great. We are waiting for their report. So as soon as we get it, we will work on any findings. But from their feedback, everything went well with that audit. We also responded to all the rest of the audits we have in the previous months. We sent the responses for them, and we are working on finalizing the last one we had, which is due next week, and then we'll be submitting those responses. One of the issues that I'm having that I mentioned to Sulika was we converted to mass annual recertifications for the RAT sites. The tax credit is giving us some pushback on that annual research. So I'm working with the state to try to get that issue resolved so that we can have mass annual recertifications for the tax credit part of the files, as well as for the 5.9 part of the file. So I will keep Sulika and the board updated on that process. Rent Cafe and screening are on track to be to go online for the agency on September 1st. We have scheduled meetings on August 30th to go over permissions trainings with staff and myself, as well as Myra, to go over that implementation. So we should be going live with that as of September 1st. We are going to be, after that project is done, we're going to be starting the scanning process for all the tax credit files. We've been putting that process off because of the audits we had and all the other projects, but we are going to be tackling that next, as it needs to be done by the end of the year. We're also working on the vacancies. I have committed with Sulika to get the majority of our vacancies leased up by the end of August. I will be giving her an update on Wednesday on that process. And we are working also on revising our reporting for rent collection. I've been working with some of the staff from finance to get those reports more accurate, as they were not very accurate the way they were being submitted. So we are working on those processes as well. And besides that, we've been actively working on the King City rehab, and as well as Pueblo del Mar project, which we are hoping we can move forward on that project pretty soon, hopefully in the next 30 days. And that's what I have to report, unless you guys have any questions.
I don't believe that I have any questions on the property management piece. Kevin?
No, thank you, Jose. Thank you, Hans. No questions.
All right, have a good afternoon.
Well, thank you, Jose. Okay, we're gonna move on to item 7C, which is the development.
Like musical chairs. It's me again. Just a few highlights. Let's see. Oh, well, the beginning of the report's got a few highlights. I'm trying to put like big funding information on here when we're receiving some cash, which is always good for all of us. We anticipate our second capital contribution for One Parkside for $3 million. That should be coming in next week. So that was good. Also very good news, Chase finally released the bank draw that was on hold. That one was a November-December draw that had been sitting because of our audits, but as Mike mentioned, we're slowly catching up with our audits, and once they received the 2021 audit for both HACM and HDC, they were able to release those funds, which was good. We are going to start looking at reviewing the 15-year end of the compliance period for some of our developments. We've talked about it briefly and are going to start having probably reoccurring meetings about that with Zulika and our team to see what our plan is going forward with. We've got 5 properties that are coming up at the end of their compliance period, and we want to buy the limited partnership out. Division Street, one of the property potential development opportunities. So Division Street, the city has gotten back to us just today. We're going to have a meeting with them to talk about next steps with that property. Staff and I are moving forward with Greenfield, looking at that site. There's a preliminary market study out, and we're working on a timeline so we can hopefully get things ready for some funding next year. And that would likely be a senior development. That's what the city of Greenfield is looking for, and we will take a look at our prelim market study once that gets back to see if it supports it. We've looked at TCAC initial scoring for our application, and it's located in a very good place, close to amenities and services, and that's what gets us a high competitive score for TCAC funding. Parcel B, we have a funding application out. We have a request for preliminary studies with the city. We have not gotten that approved yet. And 855 East Laurel is still a potential. We just need to follow up with the county staff on that. For One Parkside also, there was close to $100,000 of funds that were retention funds from the home and PLHA money that was awarded for that property. So staff and I are working on getting the necessary paperwork to the city so that we can get that money released as well. So that's another $100K that we'll be getting. And then looking at the 123 RICO, the clean funds that are still outstanding, it's about $366,000. Our architect is looking at possibly adding some restructuring the way the front office is, where housing program staff sit now. The estimate that we got for the back warehouse and adding additional office space just came in extremely high and well over the 360 that we have left. So that's kind of been put on hold for now, and we're looking at space within the building that we can reconfigure and add additional offices to. So we'll keep you posted on that. Audits Mike mentioned. Staff is working on budgets right now with our PM partners. They're all due November 1, with the exception of the USDA sites. Those are due October 1st. So that's keeping us fairly busy. And then, the commercial space at Tynan, we were successful in getting a new lease with new owners. So they've signed a 5-year lease with a couple of renewals built in. They're doing really good. They've got new cooks, and their business seems to be picking up every day. You know, they've got a new menu, and I've heard nothing but good comments, and we try and go there at least once a week too, because it's just down, a couple of steps away. Another big project we've got going is the project-based voucher program. We've entered into a couple more AHAPs. One of the projects that is out on East Garrison for Chispa, they're nearing construction completion, so we'll be entering into a HAP contract with them. I've got some temporary help that's assisting, thanks to Zulika. So she's putting together our files and making sure we have everything in order for that. We've got a lot of PBV units out there. And then we had the John Stewart properties also had several TCAC inspections, like Jose was talking about. We're waiting for final closeout letters from TCAC. We had a few findings on some of the properties, and those responses have all been sent back to TCAC. So we're just waiting for the closeout. And I think those are my big highlights. If anybody has any questions on anything.
No, I think that's pretty comprehensive. It's exciting to have some sites, in the hopper to, because I think there'll be you can see in the P&L how it's beneficial for us to have those developer fees rolling in over time. And I think we'll have a little bit of a dry spell for a period of time. So it's nice to have some new prospects, coming down the pike.
Absolutely.
Well, Kevin, I guess anything else to add on that?
Nothing to add at this point, Hans. Thank you, Carol.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Well then, we're going on to
One quick comment, Hans, before you do the commissioner comments. The website has been down since sometime around the beginning of August. We've been working on trying to get it back up. We did post throughout the building and on our other social media platforms that it's not working. The problem with getting it back up to date is, one, it was not a hosting company for it, so they were doing it internally. And then we've had so much transition here at the agency that we don't know who first did the website, what's the PIN numbers, all of that type of stuff. So we got to go through a lot of red tape to get to the appropriate people to get it back up and running. But while we're trying to get that one back up, we also working with somebody for a new website to have the whole thing redone, where it incorporates HDC, HECM, and then it'll have a hosting company, somebody that's maintaining it. And hopefully that won't take too long, but we are working on getting the site up. The second thing is, I did look into the small area fair market rents to see why we were not on the list. I contacted HUD about that. They set up a meeting for early next week so that they could see what happened, why we were not listed. And so whatever that issue is, we can correct it and be placed on the list on the HUD website. So I just wanted to let you know about that. And I don't know, the website, I don't really know how long that's gonna take. I had a situation, something like that before with some phones, and they really particular about those PIN numbers. So we might have to even get some signatures from the board to be able to go around that, just to get access to get the old site up and running enough while we still creating a new one.
Yeah, that sounds like a challenge. I mean,
Yeah.
Obviously in this day and age, a website's, pretty important. So, I mean, it sounds like you guys are prioritizing it. And I think it's certainly welcome to hear that, that you're looking at a new company to work with as opposed to doing internally. I feel like that's
Yeah.
idea. And it honestly was a website that I think needed to be updated. So
Yeah, so hopefully, like I said, we might have to get some letters from you and some of the other board members because we just don't know. It's not in the records to show who actually implemented it at first, what PIN number they gave them, that type of thing to get access to even fix it. But we'll let you know something, hopefully by the end of this week if we need some from the commissioners.
Okay.
Didn't we engage Moxie Marketing? Carol might know this. I thought Carol was or Starla were at the forefront of the development, but I feel like Moxie Marketing was involved with helping us develop the website, and that we might have a leverage point there.
Okay.
It was Moxie and then TMD took it over, the marketing group took it over. Cause I don't think, does Moxie still exist?
Moxie doesn't,
They don't do that
what
anymore.
happened is Moxie was originally the creator of the website, but then they stopped servicing the website. So they told us we can't service it anymore because it's dated and we don't support that platform anymore. So here you guys take care of it. But was never the plugins, nothing was ever updated. So there was no real maintenance on the website other than just updating whatever messages or information we wanted. But now that the plugins are updated and no longer working, the internet protocols and our website are just not talking.
Well, do either of you have any of the original documentation where it was bidded or awarded or a PIN number or anything of that nature?
I have the HTC, but ours is still working, but that was one of the things that we talked about, that we want to combine it.
Yeah,
Do you know who was over the project?
They're gone.
Someone who's not here no more.
It was Amos and Christina, yeah.
But these are
At the mark-
local companies, right? I mean, they're Moxie and TMD are both local. I imagine if we went to the leadership at TMD, we might be able to shake the tree a little bit, would be my guess.
Well, TMD doesn't work on our current website. They were working on HTC's website.
But not help them.
If you call Moxie.
Well, we're gonna we doing a deep dive into it to try to get it up. And so, like I said, we might have to get some letters or something from the commissioners because you guys were still on the board at that time, I think. And with all the changes here, just to get those credentials back so that we can update it.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I appreciate the update there. I guess without any other questions, we'll move to commissioner comments. Kevin, any comments tonight?
I would probably offer my thanks to everybody, to Zalika, to Mike, to Carolina, to Jose. Make sure I cover all the bases here. Kim, for a good report and good information, and looking forward to the board meeting next week. And thank you, Hans, for running the meeting.
Yeah, and I would echo that. Appreciate the some of the additional detail here, Mike. So I also appreciate some of the things we wrote about trying to get to a point where the budgets are, coming out ahead of the fiscal year, which I think we're getting closer to that point, which is exciting. And I think this utilization piece, definitely want to see us try to push on that. Sounds like we've got 2.5, 3 months or something to make an impact there. And also was excited to hear about some of the development prospects. I think we rolled HDC under Hackham for the management piece, but we definitely want to continue to see a robust development pipeline. So that's welcome news. Great work, everybody. And that's the extent of my comments. So with that, we're going to move to item 9, which is adjournment. So we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:08 p.m. And thanks to everybody for staying late.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.